dead. I just think that...
Did it start for you then, when rock and roll was first starting? Or
Correct.
Did you...
Well, the knockouts really got together in 57, 1957.
Was that your first group?
No, my first group was called the Crazy Cats.
The Crazy Cats?
That was in 56.
56.
56.
Did they ever record?
No. No, it was just a little trio. I just worked around the local bistros.
Doing rock and roll?
Yeah.
Rock and roll trio?
Yeah, strictly singing, just singing rock and roll. At that time, I played guitar.
You're from New Jersey?
Yeah.
Well, I might say Andre and Cirell are particularly big. Would that be fair to say? Particularly big in New Jersey?
I would say so. Yeah, I would
Atlantic
say so.
City and
yeah.
all over.
Worked all over the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got together and you formed a group called the Knockouts.
Right.
Was no Crazy Cats in the Knockouts?
Nope.
Okay, who were the Knockouts?
The original original Knockouts had a drummer by the name of Harry Venuta. On keyboards, I had Bobby Collada. On drum and on guitar, Eddie Parenti.
Is this the same Knockouts that then recorded?
Yes.
Okay, so there weren't any personnel changes between the time you got together and the time you recorded?
No. Right after we recorded, I made a change.
Right after the first recording?
Yeah, directly right after recording.
All right. So you're not, the Knockouts are knocking around, I guess, for what, a year or so before you recorded?
Absolutely.
Okay.
About 3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Every time he crosses like that, well, you have to cross with him. Now, remember, you got to keep your legs crossed the same way. Don't go the opposite. Right, Bobby? I keep telling him. He's got to. When he smiles, you go like this.
Did you know that we were taping when you walked in there?
No.
Leave that in. Leave that in.
You have to leave it in.
Leave that in.
Oh, Ben.
No, leave it in.
This
Leave that
is
in.
going to be super.
Leave that
That's
in.
why we started cracking
That's
up.
why we cracked it
'Cause
up.
you walked right up.
I thought you were talking. I didn't know what you were doing.
I love it.
You gotta leave that in.
I want to, if you can, before you even edit it, can we see that sometime? I mean, that's going to be tremendous.
There's a new TV personal.
Oh, my God.
John Wayne.
Dan, let me tell you what. Your dad walked right. We finally have a chance to laugh at him on film. He's laughed at us all these years. Wow.
Oh, thanks.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, what's he doing? What's he doing, Ben Jobs? You gotta watch him.
No. He's got a cold and he's spinning up.
Okay.
All right. How you feel now, okay? You gonna make it through?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now we zoom back over to us.
By the way, that gentleman there was the proprietor of the Top of the Mast
Ben
we're working
Nighty.
right now.
That
And
was
he
Ben Nighty.
Happened to walk over to see what we're doing.
Ben Nighty.
Ben Nitty.
Ben Nitty. Okay. All right.
He knows it's Ben
Yes,
Nitty.
yes, I'm sorry.
Started out here with a little hot dog stand.
I know.
Now he's-
Now he's a big hot dog stand.
Now it's a big hot dog stand.
That's it. That's it. That's all right.
Put Seaside Park on the map.
Certainly did.
Now the water's washing it away.
That's it. There's no more beach.
No. Okay, we're sorry. We'll get back to you.
I'm sorry.
The Knockouts were around for about 3 years prior to recording. Where were you working those 3 years? And how could you work without a record in those days?
Oh, very easily.
Really?
There was a ton of work in those days. It was like that had to be like in a home area. When I say home area, North Jersey, there were like 30 nightclubs alone. You could bounce from nightclub to nightclub and never have to go out of your area.
Doing rock and roll?
Rock and roll, and comedy, whatever you want to do.
What about the fact that the major rock and roll audience, let's say in late 55 with Tony and the Platters, Frankie Lyman in early 56 with the explosion with Elvis, much of that early audience was too young to get into a nightclub. So when you were doing rock and roll in clubs,
Yeah.
the crowd wasn't necessarily the main rock and roll fan.
No,
Was no problem then?
not at all. Because at that time, you remember one thing, you're talking at a time when people bought records. In other words, the audience I built from the record was not the audience I had from the clubs. Naturally, people that came to
That's
see
what
me
I
in the well, the people that came to see me in the clubs, they bought the record too. You know what I'm saying? But the record took off on its own merit.
But
Had nothing to do with our performance.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But we're talking prior to the record. But you did, it was no problem working. Number one, you didn't have a record.
Right.
Number two, you were playing to an audience that, as I said, was not really the rock and roll audience.
Yeah.
And yet they were going along with
Well, the reason I think that was so because we made, I made it so that the thing was comedy and rock and roll. In other words, we didn't try to ram, comedy down their throat. I mean, rather music down their throat.
So if they weren't 100% rock and roll fans, they could hear current music
And
you'd
comedy.
take them off into another area. Too.
Exactly.
So
No, we didn't try to ram it down their throats. You know what I'm trying to say?
I understand.
Yeah.
At what?
But you got to understand something. You're talking about an era when people even now. You're talking about our audience in the clubs. Now, what age group do you think you're talking about?
What do I think?
Yeah. What age group do you think that was?
22 to 40.
So these aren't old people. These are young people. Granted, they're not the teenagers you're talking about. They're not the 15 and 16-year-olds. But on the other hand, this was a record-buying public then. It's not like today. Then the people of 25 years old, 26 years old, they bought records. They were into, those people were into rock and roll.
Yes.
It wasn't just a kid.
A lot of them were. Not all of them.
Well, I'll put it this way. The area, the North Jersey area, I'm not talking about Midwest, and I'm not talking about Ohio, I'm not talking about even Pennsylvania,
Right.
but North Jersey was rock and roll. When rock and roll came in, they went crazy. They couldn't open up enough rock and roll clubs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can go back to the area. I mean, it's like deja vu. Go back like that. And
Right.
it was a different ball game completely. It's not like today. That pseudo sophistication of today wasn't around then.
Right.
The people were more open. They were open to new ideas, new music.
Right. The Dodgers were still in Brooklyn.
You got it.
Were properly
They were great
excited.
times. They were great times. They're not going to come back, but they were great times.
Yes. You guys wrote Darling Lorraine?
Eddie Parenti wrote it, along with a girl by the name of Rose Gallagher. Now, I had something to do with the writing, but I wasn't an intricate part of it.
Now, you understand that if you wrote as much as one word of a song and you were like Buck Ram, you'd have half the writing credits and own the
Yeah,
book.
but it didn't work out that way. You got to understand, we're talking about an era, there was a lot of garbage going on.
No, I understand. I just meant
Oh, yeah, I know what
a
you're
guy
saying.
like that who was managing a group.
Oh, I
He
know.
put one word in.
I know. Oh, I know.
Isn't that something?
That's the
Yeah.
truth. That's the truth.
On the other hand, some people wrote half of the song. They didn't get any credit. They didn't think anything of it.
Right.
How long were you doing Darling Lorraine prior to recording?
A very short time.
Really?
Yeah. It's a piece of, what happened was this girl wrote a poem, Darling Lorraine, and Eddie and I put it to music. And the period of time between the time we made that song and that we we decided to put it on a record, couldn't have been no more than a matter of 6 months.
Prior to recording that, though, you must have wanted to record even before you had Darling Lorraine.
No,
You didn't go to any record companies before
No.
that? You didn't approach anybody?
No.
Were you approached?
no.
All right, you're saying that Darling Lorraine is the reason that you went to try to get a record out?
Well, I mean, there's a longer story than that involved with it. A gentleman by the name of Chick Solano, who was working as a cook in a restaurant right next to a club we were working, he came in and caught us. And for some ungodly reason, he felt he could manage us. He had no prior experience in it, and he heard us do this record on stage. And he said, you guys should record that. So we went into a recording studio and recorded it on our own. Went to Allegro Studios in New York City
Oh, sure.
and recorded it there. And he took the record, which was still a dub, we didn't even have a master on it, and took it directly to Peter Tripp and just presented it to him. And he played it. He flipped over it. And it got played like that.
Peter Tripp played it on MGM?
Yes, WMGM.
As a dub?
As a dub.
As the record that came out, was it the recording you did?
Yes, it was. What happened was, the original record that was played was a dub. And then, like, a couple of weeks later, we presented him with the master cut. But at the time he played it, which he really wasn't supposed to do, I guess you know that.
Yeah.
But at the time, he was so excited about this record, he wanted to get it out on the airways. And he just put it out.
But the record that came out was the same recording.
Yes, only in master cut.
I understand, but it was not a remix or anything. It was just...
No, not really. In fact, there's a mistake on that record. On the original record that you hear, that the people buy, There's a mistake. You can actually hear a missed drum beat. He dropped the sticks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
4 guys only on the session?
4 guys.
Who produced?
Chick Solano.
So you just 4 guys go into a studio with a cook
That's right.
and produce a
That's
great
right.
record. Jeez.
That's a true story.
Did the fact that the record had been played by Peter Tripp, did that get you the record deal? Or
Well, yeah, because Bob Shared picked it up. Bob Shared. Well, that's right. What am I saying? Bob Shared produced it. Bob Shared of Shared Records.
but he wasn't in the studio when you recorded it.
No.
So he put it out. He didn't produce
What he does, we gave him the dub, and he just master
He
cut
put
the
it on
dub.
Shared.
That's exactly. You know, those days it was very simplistic. You know, it's not like today. You know, it's not real high. It wasn't high tech back then. There wasn't even a bass on that record. You know, there's no bass. The bass you hear is the piano bass, electric piano bass.
Electric piano?
Yeah, he'll play electric piano. Worlds for electric piano.
You and who sang the lead? There were 2 leads on that record.
Yeah, I sang the lead, and Eddie was the guy you hear in the background. Eddie Parenti.
Okay. Bobby Shad, not a good reputation on the record business.
Well,
I'm not asking you to confirm what I just said.
I really don't know.
Okay.
All I can tell you is he got his stat. He produced a couple other records for us, and he had a couple other winners for him. He had Skip and Flip,
Yeah.
you know, and they didn't do too shabbily.
Oh, I don't mean that some of the records didn't
Yeah.
do well.
Well, I mean, as far as his business practices,
He doesn't have a great reputation.
well, a lot of them fell by the wayside.
You don't seem to feel any animosity or anything.
Not at all.
Okay, all
Not at all.
right. First time that how did Darling Lorraine being played affect what you were doing in clubs?
Well, you can imagine. Forget about it. I wish I had that right now happening. It was the difference. I'll tell you how different. It's the difference between making, this is what it went from. This is the truth. We were making like $500 a week in a club doing 5 days a week.
The whole band.
The whole band made 500. We made 500. Each guy knows he made $100 a week. From that, we went like to 2,000, 3,000 a week. That kind of jump. It's pretty heady.
That is,
Yeah.
yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it changed the clubs you played in then.
Well, you understand, if I had it all over to do again, I probably would have done a lot differently. But I was a very unsophisticated kid. I was in Jersey. I was with the Jersey boys, and I wanted to stay in Jersey. I would have made a hell of a lot more money, and my career probably went a hell of a lot further had I had the insight to realize to move on. But I really just kept working a lot of the local clubs for more money, but in the local clubs, which is not a career builder.
Yeah, but it's like a hometown hero comes home. I bet the people appreciate
Yeah, but
that.
they appreciate it, but that and 25 cents does nothing for your career. Believe me, you have to get out there. I mean, it's nice to work for your hometown people, but to really exploit your career, any of the bigger and better groups, even the rock and roll groups, they became like the Platters. You have to become worldwide. I mean, you can't just put yourself in a New York or a New Jersey area. You got to play West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, Europe, whatever you can do. We didn't do that because everybody was homesick type guys. They wanted to just stay in the area. The only place we ever really worked that was far away as the knockouts was Las Vegas, where we did excellent. But again, everybody would get homesick, present company included.
What about people coming to see you who only knew Darling Lorraine? Weren't they surprised that here was also comedy?
Stunned. See, this was our thing. We would do record hops. Now, you know what the typical record hop used to be like. The band would get out there, and we would be on the bill with like names. Heavy-duty names, and Bobby Rydell. And then we would come out at that hop and then start doing comedy. We'd blow these guys out of the water because they had no show. They had their record and possibly 2 more tunes. We'd go out there, do our tune, and then hit them with about 10 minutes of comedy. Forget about it. They were stunned. That's why I say we didn't really pick up the stick when we should have.
How about the Dick Clark show when he had the whole, didn't you have the whole week on there, or for your whole Saturday dedicated?
Saturday, yeah. And we were on with all names, and here we were, this basically really unknown group, and we went on that show, American Bandstand, and they were chanting our name, knockouts, and there's Bobby Rydell on the wings.
Right.
I mean, that's heavy duty.
You talking about the Saturday night show? Or
Yeah, Saturday night show.
Well, that was So that was
From New York.
the little theater.
Yep, right.
Yeah. I'm telling you this now as somebody that bought the records, okay?
Yeah.
Your records. Who but saw you a little while later. Well, I don't know how much later, frankly. It could have been a month, it could have been 2 months later.
Oh, so the
After
knockouts,
hearing
yeah.
the record.
Right.
Oh, I'm talking about when
Right,
Darling
right.
Lorraine was still rising.
Yeah.
Okay? And I believe that what I'm going to say is true of most of the people who are today still into rock and roll who were initial fans, okay?
Right.
And that is that I couldn't understand the knockouts at first. I don't mean that negatively. But Darling Lorraine was a group record.
Right.
I mean, to listen to Darling Lorraine, I was positive this is a 5-man stand-up group. Because these people didn't have their own instruments. I mean, Bill Haley, Elvis, Buddy Holly, but most people didn't have their own. Or if they had their own instruments, they were backup instruments. They weren't part of the group, not
Right.
really. They
Right.
were pickup musicians or whatever.
Right.
So here I thought there was this group, you know, and the guy in the background, I didn't realize he was like what you might call an alternate lead. I thought he was a guy from the background doing
Yeah.
maybe what a tenor would have done in
Yeah.
a way,
Yeah.
you know, that riding kind of around.
Right.
I was very surprised to see the knockouts. And you know,
Yeah.
there was 2 guys singing. There weren't 5 guys.
Yeah. That's all it was.
But did anyone express that to you at the time?
No. The only thing.
I don't understand. I'm not saying that negatively.
No, I know. I understand
I'm
it.
just saying that when you heard a record like Darling Lorraine, that was a rock and roll, kind of R&B in a way, group record.
But you have to
You don't
understand
think
something.
it's 2 people. It's not the Everly Brothers, but
Yeah.
they're 2 people.
Well, see that you have to
That's
understand.
right.
This is what made the group or act, whatever you want to call it, unique. Because we were one of. In fact, I don't know of any other of the groups that used that situation where I just have one guy singing background. There's only one man singing background.
Well,
Who else did
I
that?
think you're unique because you were called the knockouts, and that you automatically think that there's a group. However,
Yeah, but
I think,
just think about it. How many groups did you ever hear? I need to hit records that they had one guy singing lead and one guy singing back, not singing along with like the Everly Brothers, but just simply singing background.
A separate part, unique.
Robert and Johnny, Charlie and Ray.
Well,
They're not the same thing, though.
no, that's not the same thing.
You listen to the record,
No.
because
No.
You listen to We Belong Together by Robert and Johnny.
But they're singing
One
it
guy-
together.
No, but one guy goes off in the background.
Yeah, but the thing is,
But a
basically,
part of it they
there's
sing
still a
together.
duet.
Yeah,
There's still a
Oh,
duet.
no, I'm not. But
Yeah.
even if
The hook, what I'm trying to say is that was be honest with you, as far as I'm concerned, that's what made the record. Because, speaking really candidly, and I mean this sincerely, Eddie would love me if he heard me say this.
yeah.
Eddie made that record. As far
there
as,
was a haunting sound coming in back.
that's the point. Because I'll tell you right now, without that sound, that record never would have made it. There's no way in hell that record would have made it.
No, when I first heard it, I really, that's the thing that grabbed me.
His voice
That
and that background, that haunting, lamenting sound he had, and then I had a very nasal voice. So I still have a very nasal voice, and the combination of both. But that background is what made the record. That was the hook.
But I would submit to you that Darling Lorraine is a good song.
Yeah.
It has that C minor FG7 feeling about it,
Yeah.
regardless of what the chords were. It
Yeah.
has that dream
Yeah.
lover kind of a.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
I think it would have made it without that, but
I don't
maybe
know.
It would have been different.
Well, you may be right. I feel that way because I'm so close to the record. I'm so close to the song, and I really do realize that Eddie's voice was
All right,
really
let's
unique.
put it this way. Maybe it wouldn't have been as good,
Yeah.
but
Well, you understand what?
it had a magnetism. That song.
I didn't tell you
was,
this. I didn't tell you this. We recorded it once, but I forgot to say this. Before the recording, Frank and I, when we went into the studio, Allegro, we went in with 3 girls.
I was just going to say, girls in the background.
Yeah. Well, the original recording was with Eddie not singing at all, and just 3 girls doing harmony in the back. It stunk. As far as we were concerned, it was terrible. And while we're in the studio, the girls said, "We don't know what are we going to do now?" I said, Eddie, just you sing background. Just you. I said, I'll sing it, and you just sing background. And we just jerked around with it, and
Really?
that's what happened.
That's how it happens.
But yeah, that is.
It's that fluky,
Yeah, I understand that. By the way, when I said Robert and Johnny and Charlie and Ray, I didn't finish my point there.
Yeah.
even if they were doing what you did, which they weren't exactly.
Yeah.
The point is, they were called Robert and Johnny. You
No.
knew there was two guys.
Oh, I see. I get your
Don
point.
and Juan sound like a group.
I get your point.
But you already know they're
I
two.
mean, we weren't even like a brothers or something like that. We were looking to see something like that. Yeah.
It was just
Yeah,
happened.
knockouts,
Look at
yeah.
the record label, listen to the record, try to divorce yourself from it totally.
Yeah.
It's a group record.
Yeah.
Was Darling Lorraine the biggest in the New York area?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, huh, Frank?
I would imagine it would have been big in Boston.
It was big. Yeah, it was big.
I'll tell you
The
what
whole
was really
tri-state,
big.
the tri-state area.
I'll tell you where we were shocked. We worked as
Listen to this.
we were working with as Andre and Cirell, and we were working in a Marriott in Pittsburgh, and we walked into after hours. They had a discotheque inside the hotel, and we walked in, and the main thing in this discotheque was oldies. The fellow that was running the records there, he just loved oldies. And we walked in one night, we heard, whoa, whoa, and of course it was Bobby singing. And I said, Bobby, I went running back and got him. I says, I was so excited, you know.
Yeah.
He says, the guy said, are you kidding me? He says, that was #1 here for 1 month straight.
Number one in Pittsburgh.
Really?
In Pittsburgh. I don't know what the big show up there was.
It was very big in Philly too.
Yeah, yeah. I was really exciting to hear
Yeah.
that.
Well, I don't know exactly who would have been at the time riding on it in Pittsburgh. I imagine maybe Porky Chedwood was one of them.
I wouldn't know. I don't know.
That sounds
any names.
familiar to me, but
Do you know Jimmy Beaumont?
Yeah.
Leonard's?
Yep.
Joe Rock, the manager. You know them?
No, I know Jimmy though. In fact, we were talking with Jimmy in,
we were talking with Jimmy
in the diner there.
yeah, only about a month or two
Yeah.
ago.
Where was he?
He was working the family restaurant in Patterson.
Up at West Patterson, he did a
West
one
Patterson.
night.
He did a one-nighter there.
They
Yeah.
were there just a short time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 months ago, something like that. 3 months ago.
Yeah.
I saw them there in January.
Yeah.
Up there?
We did. We just got.
Maybe that's when it was.
Yeah, you guys were just there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is
We
that
d-
what it was? Was it that long ago?
We did a couple
It
of.
was January when they were there, when I saw them, yeah.
That
just-
must have been 6, 7 months ago.
Just recently, we did a couple of rock and roll shows. We did for Westbury.
Yeah, Westbury Music Fair and the
Yeah.
other one too.
We did a
What's it?
couple of them there.
Did you realize when you recorded Darling Lorraine that you were actually serving as producers of your own record? I mean, in those days, that
No.
didn't mean so much.
We had no
But
conception.
today you say, oh, so-and-so produced this, this, and this. You
Yeah.
guys were in cold, well, you've been
Yeah.
working for 3 years
Yeah.
at least, but not in the studio.
Yeah.
And you produced a good record.
Yeah.
That didn't
No.
didn't really mean that much to you, the fact that
It
you
really didn't. You gotta understand,
understand
we
now,
were
though,
green,
that-
I know, we were green kids. We had no idea of what, that's why when the record hit, we were more surprised than anybody. I had no concept, I didn't say like, oh, we have a hit record here. As far as I can say, yeah, I'm gonna make it a hit record, yeah, sure, right. In the meantime, we're working back in these little joints. When the record hit, I was stunned. I mean, totally stunned. I could not believe it.
But you thought it was a good record.
Yeah. I wasn't crazy about it.
Okay.
Since then, I've recorded things that I thought much stronger and never made it.
Was the follow-up to Darling Lorraine, was Rich Boy Poor Boy?
That was good. That was a good
You like
record.
that
Oh, far superior. First of all, it was a lusher treatment. We had the whole Perry Como band on that. That's all real strings. And there was no synthesizing in those days. All strings happening on that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking the whole Perry Como band. It was like a symphony orchestra. And that song Eddie and I wrote together. That would you know.
And that's almost, it's more of a duet than
Yeah,
Darling
now
Lorraine.
that was a duet. That's a regular duet. And I thought that was a strong piece of business. And quite honestly, we've been talking about possibly re-recording it. I think it was that strong a piece of music.
Oh, that was a good piece of material, and the concept, Rich Boy, Poor Boy, is more of a 60s concept, actually.
Yeah, it's true.
Than it was 50s.
It was.
I don't mean that it was out of place.
No,
but
no,
it was
I-
ahead.
No, I know what you're saying. I think, to tell you the truth, I just think that's why the record didn't make it. Exactly what you're saying, because it was ahead of its time.
Well, I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean that.
Yeah,
In
but
effect, you were,
yeah,
think.
but I think that's why, though. To be very honest with you, I really honestly think had that record come out a little bit later, we might have been that might have had a bigger hit with it.
Now, Rich Boy, Poor Boy, you must have had an arranger.
Yeah.
You must have probably had a
You know who arranged that? The guy from Mickey and Sylvia. Mickey.
Mickey Guitar Baker.
Yeah.
Mickey Baker.
He arranged that.
Well, now again, this is not meant to be negative, okay?
Yeah.
Not at all. Not in any way. But did you ever say to yourself while you were recording, do you recall saying to yourself while you were recording Rich Boy, Poor Boy, here we go into a studio, 4 guys, we knock out,
Yeah.
see how clever I am?
Yeah.
We knock out Darling Lorraine on our own. Maybe we're impressed with it, maybe we're not, but boom. Now all of a sudden there's an orchestra. There's Mickey Baker, regarded at the time as the best guitar player in rock and roll, probably.
Right.
Well, one of them. Did you say to yourself, maybe we don't need all of this stuff because look what we did on our own?
Yeah. I said
What
that.
would have happened if Perry Como's orchestra was on Darling Lorraine? Would somebody have said, hey, get the guy out of the background? He's hitting with the horn is hitting or something?
That's a good question. I felt it was overproduced. But
No, I'm not saying it was overproduced, but I'm saying the
but-
minute something is successful, somebody
Yeah.
comes along
Yeah,
and
no.
says, let's hit this, let's hit that.
That's true.
Yeah, no, well, but that's exactly what happened. You're right, because that's exactly what happened. See, right after Darling Lorraine, then everybody said, well, you know, we can make this better, and we'll have the big, lush treatment, and we're going to do the strings. Now, I went along for the ride. They were paying for everything, and this was the studio's, this is what they wanted. This was their wishes. Now, I wasn't about to throw a monkey wrench and start becoming a prima donna, but very honestly, and even Eddie at the time, neither one of us were too crazy about the idea with the violins. Because we felt there should have been just there should have been a little bit more than we had on Darling Lorraine, a few more instruments, but I didn't see with the strings and I don't think it rated that lush a treatment. If I were to re-record it now, I wouldn't do it that way.
Should have kept it more of a raw sound.
Yeah, very
Absolutely.
simplistic, more simplistic.
Well, yeah, I think that's part of what
I think it took away from the song because the words are the song sells itself. The word, you just said it. The words are right there. The story is there. It's a story, and I think it could have been done in a more simplistic and a cleaner. It would have been cleaner. It got very busy. The record's if you listen to the record, it's a good record. I really think it's good, but it's very busy.
Well, but on the other hand,
You know what? Do you know why they did this? Do you know why they did this with the violins? Because of Skip and Flip. Because they had that cherry pie with the violins.
Oh, okay.
They came out with, I think, 1 or 2 things like that. So they think, and it was a big successful thing. So they said, well, it's successful for them, so let's do the same thing. Because we were right in the same bowl, so to speak.
Right.
Skip and Flip. And they do something, we did something, that kind of thing. We were always likened to them. And, but the fact of the matter is, we weren't Skip and Flip. And what worked for Skip and Flip didn't necessarily mean it's going to work for us.
yeah, but on the other hand, violins had started in rock and roll with Tony Williams and the Platters,
Yeah.
Twilight Time, Drifters, and then Jimmy Beaumont and the Skyliners with Since I Don't Have You.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, people were getting accustomed to violins.
I know, but I don't know if it lent to us too well. I don't know if it lent to our voices that well. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's the question.
I think Rich Boy Poor Boy is a great record.
I do too.
I just question
Honestly
people
speaking, can I ask-
going wild trying to tamper with something that's already perfect.
I know, well, but that's the nature of the business. You know that. You know that. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. In your opinion,
Yeah.
just for my own head, which record did you like better? Darling Lorraine or Rich Boy, Poor Boy?
There's no question, Darling Lorraine.
Yeah, huh? See, I feel the other way. I feel the opposite.
Well, see, the thing is,
I feel that was the hit.
Oh, I don't mean that it shouldn't have been a big hit.
No, but I feel that should have been the hit before Darling Lorraine would have been a hit. That's right. But
Well,
shows you.
if it had been reversed.
You think it would have been?
Maybe as an initial recording.
If you think it would have been the first recording, do you think it would have been a hit? I always wondered about that.
I think Rich Boy Poor Boy would have been a hit had it gotten the same airplay as Darling Lorraine. Now,
Yeah.
could it have? Would it have started with Peter Tripp in the same fashion? Maybe not.
Yeah.
You know, it's all these
Yeah.
pieces to the puzzle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that Darling Lorraine had that special thing happening.
Yeah, I don't know.
That
Sometimes
caught his ear.
you know what? Sometimes you're so close to something, Frank.
Yeah.
See, the reason I say Darling,
The group was such a unique group. I mean, between the keyboard man, they were all extremely individually talented people, and they were all very funny people. You know what I mean? It was kind of like a Marx Brothers thing, you know?
Yes, I understand.
Everybody did comedy in that group. It wasn't just like me. We all did it. I was the center, but they all did their thing.
when you say after Darling Lorraine, you mean he left before Rich Boy Poor Boy?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, well, I should say left. Let him go. His drumming really wasn't primo.
But he was good enough to play drums in the Garland Range.
Well, almost not. As I said, the proof is in the record.
Yeah, and everybody likes the record.
All right.
Let's not
Maybe I should get a bad drummer for your next record.
That's it.
No, I mean,
Whatever works.
yeah.
Harry was a beautiful kid.
When
It just
you
didn't
were-
work out.
When you were playing as the Crazy Cats,
Yeah.
did you know Frankie Valli at that point?
No.
No.
I was running in different. I was working with the Crazy Cats. We were working bars.
Well,
I mean, I'm
about-
talking local taverns.
Yeah, but I don't mean the Four Lovers. I mean Frankie Valli and the Trappers,
No.
54.
No. No, I didn't run in those circles. I didn't get to know Frankie till I had the knockouts. Because then Frankie used to come in once in a while, because we worked in the Garden House in Belleville, in Lyndhurst. And Frankie would come in, he would work in Newark, and they heard about us, and they would come in. Because we became the group to see, because we were doing all this comedy where nobody at that time, very few groups, other than like some cult groups like Chang Lee, you know, they were doing comedy way back, and there's another guy that should have made it. He should have made it. Another guy that should have made it, Muzzy, from the Accents. That group was magnificent. And we're talking magnificent. But you know what? Like us, they didn't realize how good they were. They really didn't realize how good they were. They're better than anything you'll see today. My opinion.
You know, there is some precedent for a comedy team being from rock and roll, because you also had Bellin in Somerville. Not that well known, I guess,
Yeah.
to some people, but that's a guy from the Four Preps and the guy from the Diamonds. And,
I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about them too.
yeah.
and Gaylord and Holiday.
Yeah, we know them real well.
Okay, Ronnie Vincent, or known as Ronnie Gaylord.
We worked opposite them in Atlantic City.
Oh, they're
Gaylord and
magnificent.
Holiday.
Recently?
No, a couple of years
No,
back.
no, about 4 or 5 years ago.
More than that.
Yeah?
More than that, yeah,
How
more
did
than that.
Burt Benaldi sound?
Singer, they mean,
Holiday.
the Holiday, yeah, they sounded great. They both
It sounded
great.
good. They didn't do well.
Really?
The room wasn't right for them.
Room wasn't right for them.
They were
They're
tremendous.
very sophisticated. You
Yeah.
know, they're primo.
We sat down in front of them,
We
we were on the
loved them.
floor.
We
We
went
were on the floor.
we went crazy
But the
over
rest of the people didn't understand them.
Did they do Isle of Capri? And
Oh, yeah, they
They
did
did
all the
everything.
hits.
They did everything.
Oh,
They
sure.
did
They
everything.
did all the hits, yeah.
When they got an older crowd in once in a while, they would do very, very well. But you see, in Atlantic City, you have a potpourri of people. You have all kinds, black, white, young, old, and you got to be prepared to entertain all shapes and sizes and colors.
yeah.
You can't. In fact, you're in trouble if you have an ethnic type act.
Yeah.
You know, if it's too Italian or
They
too
always
Jewish.
were, though.
What?
Gaylord and Holiday. They always were.
I know, very Italian. Well, but that's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, we can work extremely Italian too, but on the other hand, we don't gear our act just to Italians,
Right.
even though we're Italian.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I might say, for the benefit of someone listening, that Gaylord and Holiday are the nucleus of the group known as the Gaylords. I didn't
Right.
say that.
Oh, yeah.
Which you'd know from The Vine Came the Grave, Isle of Capri,
Oh.
Tell Me Your Mind, The Little Shoemaker.
Oh, they had a lot of hits.
Oh, great, yeah, great.
Another comedy group that did very well, the Playmates.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Donnie?
No, I meant that Gaylord and Holiday came from a group, and Bellin and Somerville came from groups. Andre and Cirell come at least 50% from a group.
Well, no, Frank was with the Duprees.
But I mean, the Playmates
Oh, I see what you mean.
Oh, absolutely.
were a group to begin with.
Right.
You were with the Duprees?
Yeah.
With
I-
Chubby Van, or?
No, well, Chubby left so early on.
Yeah, right.
Chubby Canzano left, may he rest in peace, he left, I guess, 2 years after the act was really going out.
It was very soon, yeah.
Yeah, it was a shame, you know. But I was in there with John Salvato and Mike Arnone and Joe Santola, who's also not with us any longer. And I worked with them from, I guess, 1968 to 1973.
It was great. He went right from them to me.
Okay. Let's get back for a second then.
Okay.
You with the knockouts. After Rich Boy, Poor Boy, how much longer were you on Shad Records?
Well, that's a good question. I'm trying to think now. We did Rich Boy, Poor Boy, and that was the last thing we did with him.
Well, where did you go from Shad? Because you
To-
guys were still on a roll.
From Shed, that's when we started bouncing. That's when we started bouncing. We went to Scepter. We went to RCA Victor. They all gave us records. We had contracts for every one of these things. I guess they saw something, but we just couldn't come up with a winner for them. We were on MGM. Then I finally got with tribute label. Eddie Heller was the producer, Eddie Heller. And that's where we did the album. And we did Mojo.
Okay, now, that was the album Knockouts Go Away, but that was your first album.
First album, only album.
So, on Shad, even though you had Darling Lorraine and Rich Boy Poor Boy,
We never made an
no
album.
The Knockouts Go Away was, what, 61, 62?
Around that.
Something.
Yeah, around that.
Sorry, I'm a little off.
No, I have a hard time remembering too, you know.
Now, Mojo got a lot of play on MCA, in particular.
Yep.
WMCA radio.
Yep.
The crowd sounds on that album.
Yeah.
They were all dubbed in.
No,
No?
no. They did that. We did that in front of an audience.
It was actually recorded in front
In
of
front of an audience. What they did is Eddie Heller had all his friends. He must have, at least had to be about 40 people, mostly women. And they did, first of all, it wasn't done mostly for as it was, they used the sounds, but it was done to kind of inspire me because it was a kind of a sensual tune. And when I recorded that, I performed it as I recorded it. In other words, I was dancing and singing, and what they did is, they made it a part 1 and part 2. What he made me do is sing that non-stop for about an hour.
Oh.
Picked out what he wanted.
An hour. Now, you believe that or don't believe it?
I believe it.
You know, they have, you can see that on the album, you see a insert of me singing. I was drenched. I mean, I was just, and not only that, but I had a half a bag on. I was just halfway through, the band took over, and they gave me a bottle of Seagrams, and boom, and I just kept on going. By the time the end of I was so bombed out of my mind. That's the truth, though.
For a man who doesn't drink it at all today.
That's right.
Now, again, I'm going to give you my reaction as somebody that bought your records.
Right.
Okay? And I don't mean this negatively.
Yeah.
This is the closest I'm going to get to negative.
Yeah.
I didn't want to hear Mojo or anything up-tempo from the Knockouts.
Yeah.
I wanted Darling Lorraine.
Yeah, you wanted
And
that.
I really believe that a lot of people are like that because when don't you want to hear another Smoke Gets in Your Eyes from Tony Williams?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
You love a sound, you want more of it. You like chocolate cake, you eat chocolate cake once a week, maybe, or maybe 5 times a week. I wanted Darling Lorraine.
let me tell you this.
Part 2.
You got to understand something. We didn't have creative rights. We didn't have the luxury of saying what we wanted or not wanted to do. Eddie Heller was the producer. I did not think that, I liked Mojo for working in the club. I did not think that it was a piece of music that was going to be a great hit record. No way. First of all, it wasn't danceable. It had a very muddy sound. If you don't have the record here, but if you play the record, well, you can play the record. The record has a very muddy recording. He used too much echo. It's like I sound like I'm singing in a well.
That is why I thought the crowd had been dubbed in. I had this
But they weren't.
artificial feeling that things had been tampered with. Okay.
No, it's all women screaming, screaming ladies.
You know, it's correct. A lot of times people have gone into a club and have seen an act killing them with a particular song, and that song has in fact made a hit record. But sometimes these killer acts, you can't record it because you just can't capture it.
Yeah.
I had nothing against Mojo. I wish it had been a big hit. But I still wanted a ballad from the Knockouts.
Let me. I'm going to go one further here.
I agree with that also.
Yeah. He's probably right. But
I agree with that.
I will say this though. If Mojo would have been done, if they had music videos in those days, if we would have done a
Well, that
video on
would have
that,
been a different thing.
it would have been a hit.
Well, that's different, but you didn't have that,
Yeah.
so.
That's my point.
You had
Yeah.
to- you had
It
to-
was
If that would have been a music video, Frank, it would have been a monster hit because it was very exciting.
In Keller's mind, I think that's what he was seeing.
Yeah, he was only he wasn't listening. He was only seeing.
Exactly, he was picturing that.
Yeah. No, Frank, I wasn't in court
No.
with them with that record.
No, I know
no
that.
way.
I know.
But you understand? I had to say, well, all right, that's your
Like,
idea.
Falling from Paradise had been alive around then. What a great follow.
Have you heard that?
Yes. But
Do you have it? Do you have the record?
I don't have it.
Yeah, because I'd love to have you listen to that, and you'll see exactly. On that record, I think you would have heard what you would have wanted to hear. In other words, had we produced that and pushed something like that, you would have heard something that you wanted to hear.
Can you get that out to him?
I had the record, but it's got a little split in it.
Oh, don't,
I want him to hear it.
Yeah.
well, see, I remember hearing it, I remember liking it, but after that, what happened? The mojo runs its course.
The Delightful Beatles came in.
Well,
Yeah.
if we're right about mojo being 60, 61, or 62,
Yeah.
we still got 2 years to the Beatles.
Well, let's put it this way. We were still recording after Mojo.
Okay.
Mojo was still being played, I would say, up into 63. I think we were a little off on our dates here.
Well,
because,
I said I might be off.
yeah,
on
I
that
think
date,
we
but,
are because, wait a minute, let's go back 3 spaces. Mojo was out. Mojo was out. Now, I don't know what year we're talking now, but being very honest with you, the Beatles came in while Mojo was being played.
It's got to be early 64
The
then.
Beatles was
Yeah.
End of 63.
Yeah, yeah.
well, early 64.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the
It was
Beatles
after-
came
it
in
was after Kennedy.
and absolutely annihilated us, along with many other groups. Along with many other groups. Because the record was getting a lot of airplay, and whether you like it or I didn't like it, people seemed to like it, but it never got a chance to get off the ground.
Now, wait a minute. If we're going to put mojo into early 64, late 63,
Yeah.
then we must have missed something in the early 60s here.
Well, during that time, you understand, it's very hard for me to recall all this because, I did most of my recording on all these different labels up until that time. In other words, I was recording on Scepter. I was recording on
Okay, so-
MGM. I was on RCA Victor. Then along came,
So the
along came,
Nothing to
labels-
speak of, though.
The
in
labels
between.
you're mentioning came after Shad and before Mojo.
correct.
So you knocked out, there you go again, a lot of records on a lot of labels in a
lot.
short period of time.
Exactly.
In every one of these cases, they produced the records.
Yes, they did.
Nobody said, hey, you guys produced Darling Lorraine. Here,
No.
go into the studio, here's 5 hours of studio time, knock yourself out, do what you want to do.
No. They had the whatever vehicle that they wanted me to use, and I would use that vehicle. You gotta understand something. There's a lot of things we did wrong too. In other words, we weren't really pushy enough. We were kids, and we never got really sophisticated to the business, because I really don't think we ever took the business that serious. I know I didn't. I was preoccupied with my own pleasures.
After Mojo and the Beatles, how did the knockouts continue?
We continued, but from that time on, we were on borrowed time. Because we were still playing, people liked our show, but the band started getting itchy. If you're not successful, that's the first time everybody starts flying a coop. And what really did it for us, our keyboard man became very ill and ultimately died. And that was the end.
Really?
That was the end.
What do you put that on? 66 or 68?
Right.
Around there?
That's right. That was it.
The knockouts, though, live today because in the Andre and Cirell act, you will sometimes do Darling Lorraine. And
Yeah.
do you not appear as the knockouts?
In certain places, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Well, why don't you tell me now about the beginning of Andre and Cirell?
Well, there was a time
I'm
period.
sorry. Since we know you're in the business, what about the other knockouts?
Was that-
Frankie in the knockouts?
No, well, yeah. That wasn't what I meant. I meant
Oh,
the
I'm
other
sorry.
members of the knockouts. Did
What
they all
about?
leave the business?
Yes. Yes. They're all out of it. They're all out of it, except Bobby died. Eddie Parenti is a security guard now. He works as a security guard in Meadowlands. And Pierre is, if I understand, he's doing very well financially. He has his own business, and he's doing very, very well.
Eddie Parenti doesn't show up at some shows and just,
No.
you don't call him up
No.
and say...
He did until about 4 or 5 years
Yeah,
ago.
we just kind of lost touch. But we're still friends, and ever so often I keep them posted on what I'm doing and whatever.
You said Frankie and the knockouts.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I jumped in there because I
No,
thought you were
that's all right.
speaking of the other knockout because there was another group of knockouts. Frankie is a good friend of mine. He recently wrote the record for Dirty Dancing, Time of My Life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Frankie Previtt's from around my area. He's from Milltown, New Jersey. I'm from Old Bridge. And we were in groups together in the late 60s. And that's when you said, and he had come up with the act, Frankie the Knockouts. He always loved the name, the Knockouts. He used to tell me that. And he used it for a couple of his records, you know.
Didn't you object to that?
I didn't even know about it till
He
the
didn't
film was
know
done.
until it was done.
And
Yeah,
I wasn't interested enough to make a big deal out
yeah,
of it.
really.
Okay. You know, the thing about that, you look and there'll be a new group called the Diamonds. Maybe the guys are 20 years old. You got to say to them, hey, are you aware of the fact that there was another Diamond? With all the names in the world,
Exactly.
I don't see. There's a guy playing. Well, I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say
Okay.
it.
Now you can always take it out.
Be easier on my editing if I just keep talking about.
Okay.
Tom Jones.
Huh?
A guy named Tom Jones working up the Aztec.
Really?
Yeah, and it's in the paper. Tom Jones tonight.
Get out. Honest to God, I didn't hear about it.
Look in yesterday's paper.
That's
Thursday night at
dumb.
the Aztec. Tom, I called up, oh, it's a sing-along show with Tom Jones.
Yeah, they try to
But
like,
it's not.
they're
Tom
trying
Jones.
to see, yeah.
Yeah, but one guy calling himself Tom Jones. I thought maybe it's a group with a wacky name.
Yeah.
Exactly, that would be all right. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, I mean,
I wonder if he does like a Tom Jones thing. Do you know?
I have no idea. I have no interest in knowing. I
Yeah.
just think the guy's crazy. You know?
I had to check this out myself.
I mean, why?
And I know. It's
Tom
crazy.
Jones is alive, but if Tom Jones weren't alive, it wouldn't make sense either.
Exactly.
The whole thing about people taking groups' names, though, that's a whole other subject. That shouldn't be allowed.
I know.
I mean,
I agree with you.
But it's
if it's your group, that's no different than your name.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be.
That's right.
Yeah.
And some judge says, well, you haven't used the name for 3 years, we're going to let them use it, like those
Yeah.
guys that are the Four Aces.
I know.
Right,
That's
right.
disgusting.
Maybe they're nice guys,
Yeah.
but they shouldn't have taken Al Albert's name.
No, absolutely
true.
not.
Tell us about Andre and Cirell, where they came from, how it came, how it happened.
I'm going to let him take over.
Okay?
Oh, come on, I was just starting to enjoy this.
you talk.
Yeah.
Talk nice.
Okay. Oh, we started, I guess it was, let me see. I was at Dupree's. Bobby was with a group called, was that Gallo and Andre, or Andre and Gallo?
Yep.
He's working with a fellow by the name of Pat Gallo.
Pat Gallo.
Yeah, who was a very extremely talented man. And they were working in Las Vegas, and the act was going to break up. And a mutual friend of Bobby and ours, by the name of Stevie D, who had been a drummer, who had several groups at the time, said, why don't you guys get together? I said to him, I said, well, I don't know, I've never done any comedy before, but I'll give it a shot. And so Bobby came to see me, I think at the Playpen Lounge, Art Stock's Playpen in Sayreville, in 1970, beginning of 1974. I think it was something like that, early 74. And then he came and he says, okay, yeah, I would like to really try something. But he had to go back to Las Vegas. He was working in Vegas. I think he flew out especially just to see me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, had a hiatus at the time, like of a 2-week hiatus. So he came out and see me, and then he came back from Las Vegas in about 3 weeks. While he was in Las Vegas, however, let me go back 3 spaces. While he was in Las Vegas, I was auditioning all the musicians for the band to back Bobby and I up. We needed a quartet. We needed keyboards, drums, bass, guitar. And just so Bobby could, because we were 50-50 on it, I said, Bobby, I'd like you to hear each guy. So we'd be out my mom's carport. It was in the summertime, and we'd be rehearsing, and I'd give Bobby a call. And I'd say, Bob, here's the next guy. What do you think of this guy? Over the phone to Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
And the guy play and sing it, and then he'd pick up and say, sounds good to me, Frank. Okay, let's take him.
That's how we put it
And
together.
that's how we put it together. It cost us about $2,000 to put the act together over the phone. Ma Bell loved it. Make a long story short, we got together, and immediately the act took off. I mean, I had never done any comedy, but we just kind of had a chemistry, and it really took off really nicely. I really enjoyed it. It was interesting for me. And we started working right from the top. We had a fella in Buffalo, New York, who Bobby had known previously.
Jimmy Constantino.
Jimmy Constantino. We owned the executive hotel there, which is now the Playboy, and right across from the airport. And we started off at making some very good money from the top. And
As Andre and Cirell.
yes, yeah. And from that point on, we just went on and on. We worked all over the country.
Yeah.
Literally, we really did take in a lot of road.
New Orleans, Montreal,
Yeah.
Chicago, all of
If they would
Florida.
have had the frequent flyer, then we would have been doing very well with it.
That's right.
I must have missed something here. If the knockouts ended, and you were working Vegas before you guys got together,
Yeah.
what were you working at?
I was with Pat Gallo.
With Pat Gallo.
Pat Gallo show.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was known as the Pat Gallo Show.
Well, yeah. Gallo and Andre. Gallo and Andre.
It started at like that. It started as a Pat Gallo show, and then it went to Gallo and Andre. I think for some years in between, well, no, we missed the Angel Brothers years.
Yeah, I was with a group from Pennsylvania for a while in the interim also.
There's that
I worked
time
with
there.
several different groups before.
You always stayed in.
Oh, yeah.
Always stayed in there.
Yeah.
Huh?
This kid here?
This guy here? See this cute little kid here?
See this kid here?
See this here? We're working right now in Seaside Park at a place that we have worked, I guess, over the last 15 years. 13 of those years we've been, I guess 12 or 13 years we've been down here. And this little guy happens to be the owner's son, Benji.
Good-looking kid? Look at that.
He's handsome, isn't he? He looks just like my partner, doesn't he?
Look,
That same
a lot of people
Rock
say
Hudson
that.
look, yeah.
Got that same look as me.
Yeah, look
what
at that.
do you think?
Doesn't he? I think he's very handsome. Put the glasses on him a second. Let's see what happens.
You look like glasses.
Oh, no, take them off. That's
No.
no, that doesn't make it. Yeah. we don't want- But anyway, Benji's in here today, and
That's right.
he's basically really, he's not really a movie star yet, but he's going to be someday.
definitely gonna be.
He was telling us earlier, he likes to play video games now. A Ninja Turtle? Is that your main game? Yeah.
I like to
So-
knock his teeth out, though.
Yeah.
I hate kids that are this good-looking. It makes me very jealous.
So he's majoring in video games right now.
That's it.
That's his mainstay.
Yes, he is.
And sometimes he does chair. All right, bartender over there, chair. Okay, there's an inside thing happening here. But anyway, Benji came out today. He wanted to see it. Says he always comes and sees our show. He likes our show.
That's right.
Do you understand what we do, Benji, in our show? Comedy. That's good. He understands we do comedy.
He likes Uncle Tony. That's
You
his
like Uncle
favorite
Tony?
thing. That's what he says. His favorite
Okay.
thing. Okay.
Benji's all right. I guess he's all right. At least one person we know likes
Well,
us
we're
here.
working here at the top of the Mast. Remember, we're here 4 days a week. This coming week coming up, we're going to be here for 5
We're
days.
closing up now, baby.
That's right. The last week coming up, Wednesday through Sunday.
We're working right to the 2nd of September.
That's right.
But we've been here for a lot of years, and I'll tell you what, this has probably put Seaside Park or any place down there on the map as far as the shore goes, because the shore certainly isn't what it was 30 years ago.
It sure isn't.
But the top of the Mast prevails and keeps on going.
Exactly.
Keeps on going. And we're happy we're here. Onward and upward and out to sea.
What do you think of that?
What'd you think about that?
What?
I don't know. Can you do any impressions? No?
Wish I could.
Ah, too bad.
I do an impression.
I thought maybe you could do a few impressions, you know, like Rocky. You know what I mean, Adrian? You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, you know what I mean, Rocky? Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
See that? I could do Jim Natowski from Taxi.
Jim Natowski from Taxi?
Okie doke. That's what I mean. You know what I mean, kid? You like being on television? Do you? Okie doke.
Do you like Bill Cosby? Hey. He doesn't like Bill Cosby either.
I like you two better.
You like us two better?
Oh, you hear that?
Give that kid a handshake.
Give that kid a handshake. I like this.
Smile into that camera.
Smile into that camera.
Say hello.
Wave goodbye to
Say
the
hi-
camera.
Say hello.
Say hello, goodbye.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Okay, good.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
All right. We just did, there's Dad. Can you shoot Dad for a second? This is Benji's dad. This is Ben, who owns the...
Ben Nitty. Well, I'll tell you what, could you bring him up here because the light is killing me.
All right, sit right there now in the back, yeah, because you've already been started. This Dad's going to sit in the middle.
I'll sit here.
Yeah.
Ben Nitty. Ben Nitty.
You know, you guys got a touch because every time, and I interviewed several people right here, you know, and he would come by and I'd say, come on, you know, whoa.
He feels safe.
We
with us.
bring out the ham in him.
No.
We bring out the shrimp in him. I don't
That's
know.
it. Well, as we were just saying, this is Ben's son back here, Benji, and we've been working for Ben. I guess he's been down here a lot of years, but I guess out of the 16 years Bobby and I together, we must have worked at least 11 or 12 of those years.
We
here.
were here when this was all sand. Nope, it was just all
Nothing
sand.
but sand.
Just a little soubrette stand was here. We used to work right beside the soubrette stand.
Ben, can you give us a rundown? What was the first time that you had started out here some years ago? How many years ago was it you had that little stand?
24 years ago. That's
Started
when
with
the
a
bagel jumped out of the sand.
That's part of our bit. It's an inside thing. And then, when was the top of the mast actually built?
It was built in 1967, our first dining room.
Which isn't what it is right now.
No, our first
Smaller.
dining room was, 54 seats. It would be the room behind us. And then the next expansion was 1968. We added another 100 seats to that. And then 1970, we added another 200 seats. We've had 5 expansions.
Wow.
And Bob and Frank have been with me for close to 12 years.
That's right.
And they brought this place and my customers a lot of happiness. Because if you have happiness, what do you have?
At penis?
Friends with the happy have happiness.
Penis or penis or penis?
Yeah, good luck.
Edit that out.
This is a
Edit that out.
Get out of here, kid.
So they brought me a lot of good luck.
Yeah, and he
Yeah,
brought,
good
and he
luck.
gave us a
Yeah,
lot of work, and
good luck,
he put us on, actually, he put us on the map down here in the shore as far as Andre and
That's
Cirell.
the
Bobby
truth.
had been down here before I was out of the crib, but about 1960 at the Parrot Club, but between then,
That's right.
we weren't down here for 14 years, and this is where we ended up.
Exactly.
I remember became our
seeing,
home.
I remember seeing Bobby when I was a little kid over at the Parrot Club.
Ah,
Excuse me.
Well, Ben, it really is great
He was with the
working
Knockouts
for
at that time.
He took pity on me, you know. Yeah, good
But the
old
top of
Ben.
the Mast was really a touch of Atlantic City before there was Atlantic City.
You got it.
Absolutely.
Right.
We just need
Right.
machines down here, we'd have it made.
That's right. Exactly. Put
I
some
was
slots
hoping
in
they'd do that, Ben, put some machines in gambling in Seaside.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Boy, that would be something.
Sure would pick up the area.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, I guess we're gonna just sit here and look at it.
That's a great idea.
Don't edit this. Don't edit it.
What's a couple of the specials that are on, just for the heck of it while we're talking, what's a couple of specials that you have on the menu right now?
Oh, we have a great early bird dinner special, 4 to 6 p.m., $6.95.
If you like birds,
That's the one,
Early
if you like birds.
Right.
No, that's what the people tell me about, it's an excellent
We
deal.
do a very big business.
Yeah, for early birds.
Now, Sunday brunch is one of the best in the state.
it is. Got everything.
I know, I had about $8,000 worth of food last week with my family.
A lot of stuff.
$9.95.
Oh,
lot
really?
of stuff.
No, soup to nuts. You set that up in the back room here, right?
Right, in the back.
If you like soup
Quite
with
right.
nuts in it, I don't.
Soup with nuts in it, I don't like that, I don't know.
I can't for that.
I don't like it, I don't know personally. Personally, I go to Wendy's, I don't know about you guys. I go.
I like to go down the corner and have the, what's the name of that place? Bum Rogers.
Bum Rogers.
Bum
Rogers.
Rogers.
Don't.
I'm not plugging you, Joe.
Don't plug them. Don't plug them.
Leave them alone.
Who's Flip for King?
Yeah, that's right,
Flies
exactly.
go to commit suicide.
That's right.
They came in last night, Bill and
We
and
did a
Rocco,
number on 'em.
and they
Did a
says,
number on 'em.
A lot of fun.
oh, we destroyed them.
Very destroyed. Good way with people.
All
You
right.
don't insult people.
No.
Very nice.
Okay, Ben.
That's all for me, I guess.
That's
That's
all
it,
for
that's all for us.
That's
And
all
I think
for us.
I'll buy you all lunch now.
Oh, wait a minute now.
Sit Moby Dick.
That's on film now. That's on film.
I do it every 10 years.
Now we got the brunch, we got to...
Can I sit with you when you...
No, I'm sorry, you know somebody who owns this place?
Yes, him.
Oh, all right, well,
Benji will pick up the tab.
all right.
Yeah.
All right,
Pick up the
sounds
tab
great.
and hand it to Bob DeAndrea. Then watch him have a heart attack.
Okay.
They're coming in. Is that about it? Can we go, teacher?
Well, did we finish the Andre and Cirell?
Yeah, basically, we did enough on that.
That's it.
That's
Is there
it.
any- Is there anything else you want to say about the knockouts that maybe I didn't?
No, I think we
we
covered
covered
almost
it.
every area you could cover.
Yeah?
Yeah. We're happy if you
I
are.
didn't know you had a rock
Oh,
suit.
yeah, I am,
Really,
but
a long time ago.
I might miss something that you might have wanted to say, but...
No, that's okay.
I think we covered
I think we
pretty
covered
well.
the important stuff. I think we can go on and on and on about all, but nobody cares about that stuff. That's good. That's good to know that somebody does. That's very, very good.
Except don't leave one outside.
Want to take that Jaguar?
Do you know if you're going to do the...
Necessary. Yes, it is. So overbearing aside. Don't humor us. Humor us.
The islands now. You feel that too much? You feel the island?
Islands. Deo. Deo.
Daylight come and we want to go home. These are day, these are day, these are day, these are day, these are day. Oh. Daylight come and we wanna go home. Mr. Taliban, Taliban, daylight come and we wanna go home. Mr. Taliban, Taliban, daylight come and we wanna go home. These are day, these are day, these are day, these are day. Shit. Daylight come and we wanna go home. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very, very much. You're very, very kind. You're very kind.
I was like, say, Chief Way. We had a special request for you, Bob.
Honestly?
To leave. No.
Oh, no.
This is a big song that you did. This afternoon we did an interview, a cable show, right? And it's going to be on Channel 32 up north somewhere, and I'm not exactly sure where it is, on suburban cable. What is it? Ramsey. Okay, now they're condos.
Did you get television in there?
That's something else. That's a different thing. Yeah. And anyway, Bobby had a big hit record back in 1960. Not I can brag about a lot. I don't know. I was just, gosh. Anyway, but he had a great big hit record, and Bobby, the Angels gonna do for you. The group was called the Knockouts. The song was Darling Lorraine, and here he is. There's something like this. Don K. Reed, love this baby.
We'd like to present to you some actors and actresses that are not necessarily known as great singers. And tonight we bring them to you singing some of your favorite hits of the 50s and 60s. Talk about Hoop with the Bop and the Bop Shabop. Here is John Duane and his sidekick, Gabby Hayes.
Oh, put the bump shit, the bump shit, bump shibba. Oh, put the rim in the rim, only my ding dong. Oh, put the tip in the zip, dee dip, dee dip. And who put the bump in the bump, dee up, dee up. Who were that man? I don't know.
I like to shake your hand. Leave me when you fall with you. Never do you.
Talk about the Booger Earl, Sly Stallone, and Jimmy Cagney.
As I walk through this world,
Ladies and gentlemen, Roman Leach here. No one had a mention of someone's yacht. We're at the top of the mast. Making his singing debut tonight is Jim Natowski from Taxi, and he's going to sing a love song. I don't believe it.
okey doke. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
She's where is dancing Bats?
Hey, hey, Archie.
Yes.
I wanna marry you.
Over here.
Hey, hey, Archie.
I'm right here.
Now one else could ever do. I've waited so long
For what?
for school to be through.
See?
Archie. so in love with you. My love, Jones water taste.
Get my beer, Chief.
I'll get your beer, Archie.
Get to the meathead out of my chair, my cool.
Andre and Cirell, y'all.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to do a real pretty song for you. This song was recorded, I guess, as of lately by Ben Midler, but it's been recorded by so many different artists. This is our own arrangement. It will be like this. It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You've been content to let me shine. You always walked one step behind. I was the one with all the glory, but you were the one with all the strength. Only a face without a name. Yeah. I never once heard you call